My guest today is Dorothy Gundy. You usually hear her talking about the English at the Movies videos. Uh, Today, she's going to be sharing a story with you about some women who were in the military in World War II. I'm going to share the article with you here. Let me So going back to our story, this is about a unit in World War II. Dorothy, would you like to tell us a little about the story?
Yes. So this woman that you're seeing in the photograph, her name is Major Fanny Griffin McClendon, and she served in Europe, in England in World War II in 1945 with the 6 888 Division. And I don't really, triple means 3 times. So
Uh-huh.
it's 6 888
Oh, and yeah, so there's the name of it. It's six. I
Division.
think they called it 6888.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure how to say it, but it's known as 6 888
Okay.
Division. Um, and they were sent to Europe to go through the mail that service members serving in Europe were getting from their families in the United States, and the mail that the service members were sending back home. It had piled up to 17 million pieces of mail. When the division, the women arrived at the warehouse in England, the mail went from the floor to the ceiling. There were 17 million pieces, and it was a mess. Uh, Animals, little mice were in there eating the sugar treats that families sent. Um, but these women came in and cleaned it up and got the mail to everyone within 3 months. They sorted it all out. So it was at that time, the US military was segregated. So blacks and whites had to be housed differently, they had to be in their own divisions. So Fanny Griffin McClendon, her unit was all comprised of Black women. And they went largely unrecognized for their work for years. And finally, now people are realizing that they were very important uh, to for morale in our United States service. Morale is a word that means you're supported. People are helped.
Feeling.
People believe in what you do, and you're doing what the
Mhm.
right thing. And so the morale was really bad among the service members because they weren't hearing from their family members. They didn't know where all their letters were. So it was very important work. I feel like I'm going on and on.
That's actually, I'm writing the word on the board here. Let me share it with everybody.
Morale.
And yeah, I was spotlighting you, so there we go.
Yes. So
So Morale is the word that Dorothy was using, and it has to do with your feelings. Uh, if you feel good about what you're doing, you have good morale.
and and morale is basically a big part of having good morale is having support in what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's important in morale. And these women knew that, and that's why they sorted out 17 million pieces of mail and
Yeah.
got it going in 3 months.
So
And
that all of the mail that was piling up higher and higher in the story, it refers to that as a backlog.
right.
So the backlog was the how would you describe that
I mean,
thing
a process just
in
comes
the
to a
story?
stop,
Hmm.
and then
Yeah. So
and then
more than you could handle.
right, right.
And I want to just go back to that story for a second, Dorothy. Um, and okay, here I have the meaning of backlog, and I'll put that into the chat. So it's a large number of jobs that are waiting to be finished. So backlog is the word,
Right.
backlog.
Um,
And so you were saying then, Dorothy, that when they came back, here they had done a wonderful job,
mhm.
right?
Yes,
And
yes.
and they came
Um,
back and nobody appreciated them. Nobody said thank you so much for helping.
no, and it was particularly bad. Not only were they women, but they were Black women, and Blacks were not treated well at that time in this country. And a lot of the laws, they when they came back, they were facing Jim Crow laws, which are laws that were put in place at that time or earlier to keep blacks and whites segregated.
Yeah.
And
So can everybody see my panel here? It's Jim Crow.
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah.
right, and that
So this was a slang term for the segregation, the rules and just the practices that people did in the South uh, after this took place after the Civil War, after slavery was ended, but still white people continued to oppress black people and and to make laws that would take away their human rights. So the short term for that, the slang term for that is Jim Crow.
mhm.
So what did the women do, Dorothy? How did they react?
um you know, they just went about their lives, raising their families and um uh, um but right now there is renewed interest in this division. And I think somebody's doing a documentary on them. A documentary is a movie that is a true story and uses uh, as much footage and pictures and video from the original story as possible. But they talk to people who were there and they learn information that is factual, and they will do a documentary on this division. And then I think Hollywood
There's
is
also,
interested in doing a movie on them. But
yeah. So there's also a monument to the group,
that,
and let me
that,
show you a picture of the monument.
I believe it's in Kansas. Is that right? I'm
Yeah,
not sure. Oh,
yeah.
that's beautiful.
So
Yeah.
this is um, in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas,
Okay. Yeah. So
and
military base in Kansas. Um,
on this website, I'll share this in the chat in a moment. But here you can see it has a statue of a woman at the top, and then it has information about the group, the battalion, at the bottom. 6888.
mhm. So there are, I think, about 7 women who are still alive from this group.
It, it's interesting that they broke all records sorting mail. That's something that the story said that uh, they expected it would take 2 or 3 months to complete the job,
No,
but
I read they
it
thought it would take 6 months at
6
least.
months. Okay. And they did it in what, a month and a half?
I think it was, I mean, to have everything going and completely under control, I think it took 3 months, but I could be wrong.
Uh-huh.
It was half the time, basically.
Yeah,
Thought it would
yeah.
be. And these women immediately, one of the first things they did was started a work shift. So it was 3 8-hour day shifts every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They worked all day. So that was a smart thing to do. But those women that was amazing.
Well, I would like to know if you know anything about the women in the military in your country, um, or if you've served in the military. Did you serve with women? If you were a woman, did you serve in the military? Alfredo has a hand up,
Afraid of.
Yes,
and then
sorry.
Pam.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a question for Dorothy. I don't know, Dorothy, if you know this information. How many women, in terms of percentage, were to the World War II comparing to the men? It was a small percentage. It
It was
was.
not a lot. It was the women. No, I mean I don't know the numbers. I guess I could look.
I could look it up if you're interested in it.
But what during World War II, they wanted the women to come into the workforce more than join the military because the factories needed workers. Um, the men have all, they all left their jobs to go to Europe and Asia, and they needed women coming in to fill their places, at the factories. So at that time, there was a call for women to go into the workforce more than the military. I know that. Um,
And I suppose there were no segregation in that aspect. No, if you were black and you like to join the factory, there were no segregation in that aspect, right?
I wouldn't say
Do you know
that.
what
I
I
don't
mean?
know.
Uh-huh.
It's a very good question, but I wouldn't say that necessarily. There was a very famous poster, um,
I've got a picture of it right here for you.
Rosie. So
Rosie
it's
the Riveter.
Rosie the Riveter was very famous.
Here she is.
This is what they did to get women to go into the workforce, and as you can see, she's white. So it became iconic in the 1980s. Yes, it still is very popular. You can see it in greeting cards and on magnets. It is
Jewelry.
jewelry. Yes.
So this says 400,000 American
Yes,
women
yeah,
served
I
in
can
the
see
armed
it.
forces. So
A lot.
and yeah, but many of them were in the uh, well, here's the Women's Air Corps. They worked as nurses, medical personnel,
Mm-hmm.
and they helped to build the planes and the tanks and things that were used in the war.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
became welders and mechanics, so taking on many new jobs.
Yes. And weren't really recognized for what they did, but they tried to help.
I
You want
work
us to come?
for Turkish Army right now, but I'm gonna come back to practicing lawyer next month. But I have some information, women in Turkish Army, and there is two system in Turkey. One of them obligatory system. Every man are 20 years old, obligatory to join army. The second part is employment as military personnel. It is equal male and female citizen apply to army. And uh, first female cadets in Turkey, woman, 1955. 1957, first female jet pilot graduated. And
Wow.
I guess equal female and male in Turkey, but some division not allowed to female, like submarine, infantry, maybe. And they have addition rights. For example, uh, addition rights when living absence for pregnancy. Uh, I guess in Turkey, female military personnel very advantage the other countries, I guess.
Okay.
Sounds like
You mentioned pregnancy. Dorothy and I were talking the other day about a news story that came out here about new uniforms, the clothing that the people wear in the military. They are just beginning to make them for pregnant women.
and body armor too.
Mhm.
They are recognizing that this happens and women can still serve for a time even if they're pregnant. So they're
Yeah.
finally getting
Um,
around to.
you would be surprised, even the clothing that the astronauts wear in the space station. Up until recently, they had the same clothing for walking outside in space for men and women, but the bodies are different. So it was not comfortable for the women to wear the spacesuit. So,
Interesting.
Hi, Dorothy. I really enjoyed the story who is telling us. And uh, you mentioned one word, morale. So in American military, if there is an organization like art troops belong to military, and when the soldiers go to battle, if there is any art troops to go to battlefront to greet the soldiers, the military in America's military system. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
so it was a question about greeting the
Yeah,
military.
my question is because in China, once there is a war, so art troops in military will go to a battlefront to greet soldiers to give them a morale. So I would like to know if in American military has a similar system or art troops like a singer, dancer go to
Oh,
battlefront to sing
yes.
and dance for soldiers to inspire them. Thank you.
Hmm. Uh-huh.
Yes. I'm thinking
So,
of hoorah with the U.S. Marine Corps. Um, there are four branches in the United States of service, and I'm very familiar. My family, my brothers and fathers and nephews, served in the U.S. Marine Corps, so I'm very familiar with their battle cry and their morale booster, and it's "Oorah."
oh, but I think what she's talking about is like the USO that provides entertainment.
Oh,
Yes,
Uh,
because
they take,
favorite singers, dancers
yeah,
go to
they do
a
that.
battlefront, and
yes.
between the battles, they greet soldiers.
Yes,
Yeah.
it helps them because they can enjoy something and they can laugh. Many times they're comedians, people that tell humorous stories, and they can laugh. And that is a very good example of a morale booster.
Yeah. So, yeah, I found the website for the USO, and here's an example of the kind of center that they have where people can go uh, to get comfort, to services and things like that. Um, uh, let's see, they have something here about the Tokyo Olympics. The soldiers and are some of the soldiers are in the Olympic team as a result of the help of USO. So in our previous wars, there were many famous comedians like Bob Hope, who went abroad many times to entertain the soldiers.
In World War II, right? He.
Yeah, World War II, Korea also,
Mm-hmm.
and even Vietnam. He was in Vietnam too.
Yeah, that's right. I just wanted to say that by us, I mean, we don't have a big portion of women in military. I mean, it's mandatory for men to serve in military. Otherwise, they will not find a job in the future, get married, or travel because they need some sort of document that proves that they already served in military. But for women, I mean, they can join, but voluntarily and not on front line. I mean, they are more on support stuff like security area or serving as nurses, let's say. Yeah, that kind of supporting only, providing support only.
Okay, and that's in Syria, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. And did you have any experience in the military there?
No, not really. As I said, it's voluntarily, not mandatory
Yeah.
for women. And I find it's hard, honestly, because, for women, it's not easy just to serve in military in all times because,
Hmm.
it's hard. Maybe the woman get pregnant or some stuff, so it's not easy for her. It's hard, I mean, for women.
Yeah. All right. And it's also hard for the women who are married to members of the military.
Yes,
That's
that's
been a big
correct.
issue here, is how the families are served. Okay, Alfredo, how about Mexico?
Well, not exactly about Mexico, but if I remember well, I read an article in BOA saying that the rules are changing for women that are in the military because nowadays they can use long hair, right?
Yes.
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 And
The hair.
they can use some other things that they couldn't in the past, no? Do you know
Correct.
something about that, Dorothy?
I know that they were not allowed to wear ponytails, where you put your hair up, and
Uh-huh.
now they are. I know that. But yes, the hairstyles, they can grow long hair now, too. And the rules have relaxed for women
Exactly.
in the military and hairstyles. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Very good.
Well, you have a good memory. That
Yes.
was back in February, and I'll
Maybe
share
that
that
encouraging
link
a
with
little bit.
everybody. um, yeah, so we do have an all volunteer army, and so I think they have to make some changes to encourage people to join. So here's a picture of a young man having all of his hair cut.
Which is what they do before they go
Uh-huh.
to basic training.
So now women can color their hair, it says,
Oh,
and wear earrings and wear long braids.
Cool.
interesting.
So they're trying to expand diversity, reduce discrimination. All right.
Hi, I just wanted to add something about Indonesia military system about women, particularly. It is very different with what Cem has spoken about the Turkey. Indonesia has low number of women in Indonesia military, or we usually call as TNI, Tentara Nasional Indonesia. And according to the recent uh, vote, that 10% of the armed service personnel of some 450,000 are women, which reflect inequality, gender inequality. So women in Indonesia tend to work in several sectors like supermarket and etc. That's funny.
Yeah.
And the requirement is so difficult. Like me, I'm 21 years old, and it is very difficult to be like military member.
Mhm. What makes it difficult?
Like,
Physical requirements or?
yeah, physical requirement and tests. Like you have to go through the several tests, and yeah, physical requirement is the difficult one. Like you don't have to wear glasses, you don't have to mm, and there is no tattoo in your body or wounds or everything like that.
Yeah.
And you have to be like uh, your weight have to be like one above 170 and etc.
Okay. All right. So there's a
I mean,
minimum weight.
yeah, I
Have
mean,
and
oh, not wait, no, not height. I mean your height.
wait.
Sorry, yeah,
Oh, the height. Okay.
Gitu aja
And
deh.
yeah,
in America, many people can't meet the maximum weight
Iya.
requirement.
mm, yeah.
Some people have too much weight and can't join the military.
Yes, and the height is how tall a person is.
Mhm.
Tall.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I'm not 170, so I couldn't join.
Been to up.
170 centimeters.
Yeah.
So they are now hoping, is I think it's the headline of the article about Major McClelland, that they are hoping to get the Congressional Gold Medal, which is one of the nation's highest honors. It's not necessarily about, you don't have to serve in the military to get one, but a lot of service people do. And usually the president of the United States will present it to you in a ceremony at the White House. Um, the president, it's a medal that you wear around your neck, and he would put it on the person who gets the Congressional Gold Medal.
Uh-huh. So I just got a notice that our time is almost up. So
Well,
please
thank
join
you.
me, everyone, in thanking Dorothy for joining us today.
Thank you.